Okay, this video will cover the terms in the sophomore poetry unit for 2020. There are 33 terms total in this set, so it's definitely a bigger set. So what I'm going to do is just highlight a few of them that I think you might need some examples on, and then the rest will be up to you to study and to look into on your own. So to start with, please go to my Quizlet list, which you can get to by going to the Quizlet website and then searching for C. Hamer. And then my username should pop up, or C. Hamer 12. My username should pop up. And then please hit request to join my class. And I will allow you to access the flashcards for this. Again, you'll see 33 in this set, so you're going to need to kind of dedicate some time this week to work on it. It is a little bit longer of a set. Usually they're not this long. Okay, so please start by going to your English notes. Remember, you've shared that document with me, so you won't need to actually turn it in. When you finish this assignment, you can just hit mark as done on Classroom, and I already have access to your notes, so you won't need to actually turn in the document. Please start by listing each term and rating your confidence with each term on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being you're really confident and you could teach the word, and 1 being you've never heard of it before. Remember, you're going to end up using those ratings to choose which activity to do on the words. Okay, so start by doing that. List all of them, all 33. And then also rate your confidence with each one. All right, I'm just going to be highlighting a few that I want to give you a little bit more instruction on. The first one is alliteration. If that sounds familiar from last year, it's a pretty simple literary device. And alliteration is just a term for when the beginning consonant sounds are repeated in a piece of work. My favorite example is Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. So you have that repetition of first initial consonant sounds. It has a very sing-songy feel to it. Allusion, a brief reference to a person, event, or place, real or fictitious, or to a work of art. An allusion is a reference to something that most of us have read, seen, or heard of before, an indirect reference. So, for example, you could tell somebody, hey, you're being a real Romeo about this, and they would know they would know that you mean they're being maybe a little bit dramatic or a little bit over the top about something. Most common allusions are to mythology, Shakespeare, celebrities, literary works, movies, and TV. So something that kind of everybody knows about. Okay, the next one is going to be, let's cover metaphor. So this is also on our list. Remember, I need you to list all of them, but I'm just going to highlight a few. So a metaphor is just describing one term as another. So the curtain of night fell upon us. If I were to change that to the night was like a curtain, that would actually be a simile, comparing two unlike things often introduced by like or as. So her cheeks were as red as a rose. That's kind of the difference there. Also like to highlight personification. So you're attributing human characteristics to something that's not human. So the leaves waved in the wind. The leaves aren't actually waving. That's something a human can do, not a plant. But you're attributing those qualities to something that is non-human. Imagery is just visually descriptive language. Most metaphors, similes, even allusions are actually imagery, or fall under the umbrella term of imagery. It's anywhere where you have that language that's very vivid and descriptive and where you can picture that in your head. Rhyme scheme simply refers to the pattern of rhymes at the end of each line. So if you were to underline the last word of each rhyme and map it out like this, A, B, that's a rhyme scheme when there's a pattern going on with the lines. Not all poetry is going to rhyme in this unit for sure. All right. I covered anaphora. The next one is alliteration. Nope, never mind. I covered alliteration. I did not cover anaphora. Okay, anaphora is a repetition of a word, phrase, or clause at the beginning of two or more sentences in a row. A deliberate form of repetition and helps the writer's point more coherent. Okay, so anaphora is basically anytime you repeat the same phrase at the beginning of a sentence. Let me look up a historical example for you guys. This is often found in speeches, famous speeches, but it is something that you can find in poetry as well. Okay, here's a good example. And it's often found in song. So this phrase, life is an adventure, dare it. Life is love, enjoy it. Life is tragedy, face it. Life is struggle, fight it. Life is a promise, fulfill it. So it's a little bit poetic. So it's basically the repetition of that phrase, life is a or life is an, and you're using it at the beginning of each sentence. Okay, symbol, this should be pretty fairly simple for you guys. Examples, hearts can symbolize love, black can symbolize darkness or evil, or if you have an open window in a story, it can represent hope or longing, and then you also have symbols like the American flag or political symbols, that kind of thing. We'll see those in some of the poems that we'll go through. Okay, speaker is the voice behind the text. Doesn't necessarily mean the author. So your speaker isn't always the person who wrote the poem. And then lastly, I want to go through the difference between theme topic versus theme message, and these terms are both on your list as well. Your theme topic is just one word to describe the topic of a piece of writing, poem, text, whatever. So your theme topic could be, let's say, honesty, for example. Your theme message is what the author is saying about the theme. It's not necessarily stated. So you could have the word honesty show up in a poem, but you don't necessarily have the theme message show up in the poem. Often they're implicit, so you have to infer it. So an example could be honesty may hurt, but it is always the best policy in the end. This is something that the author is saying about the theme, not just a one word to describe what the poem or what the text is about. Okay, remember, list all 33. Quite a big list, so set aside some time for this. You will need this for Wednesday's lecture. You will need all of these terms reviewed for Wednesday's lecture. So please make sure that you list all of them, and then your activities for each one are here, and I'll also copy them in the assignment. Remember that you're going to use your ratings to decide which activity to do on each word, and then you'll be ready to join us on Wednesday over Google Meets for our first poem together. All right, thank you.